Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the day one update to the Vaal Venom Gyre Pathfinder. Now, day one, we have played roughly about 10 hours, 51 minutes. We're about 60 maps into our Atlas. We have completed our Uber Lab Ascendancy. This is about the time commitment we've had. It's honestly been one of the fastest, basically, Atlas start, League start progressions I've ever had on the character. Normally, at the end of day one, I'm finishing the campaign, and I'm doing like one map and I'm going to bed. This is, I finished half the Atlas, granted the easier half, but still a fantastic start for me. That's been great. Now, what do we have going on? Well, we invested basically all of our initial currency into the Covenant. Just as I expected, Wasp Nest was a basically 2C claw, still is, very cheap, very common item, fantastic early pickup. We also went for a Dowager's Damning. This is a pretty strong upgrade for our character as well, while also being very cheap. What does this do? It gives us one additional curse and 20 all res. 20 all res is nice for a little bit of resistances, and one additional curse is great for damage. To take advantage of this, I have both Despair and Temporal Chains linked to a Arcanist brand and a Tornado. I'm not sure the Tornado is paying off yet. I can't really tell, to be honest with you. But basically, cast this before we open a boss, and that puts two curses that do a lot for our damage. If you feel like the single target is weak, you definitely need to make sure you're casting those curses, because that makes a big difference in actually dealing damage versus not dealing damage. Another thing I should say is, initially, I decided to opt for going with a Purity of Elements, Precision, and Grace instead of Herald of Agony initially. This means I had to have a really lower level precision in order to fit my mana pool. I had to make sure to stop it before I leveled it so high. This allowed us to have ailment immunity until we got the Uber Lab. Now that we have the Uber Lab, I'm planning to drop this Purity of Elements once I get gear that's a little bit less trash and actually get some decent resistances. My gear is it's mostly pretty questionable, so that's something that I want to swap back to. Purity of Elements is only a temporary thing. Ultimately, I don't want to keep using it because I'd rather have some more DPS auras, or even going for Determination instead if I want to start putting armor into the build. Another thing I want to say is, when I started looking at basically ways to have less mana issues, I started putting things like Life Tap on my Whirling Blades and my faster attacks. I also should put that on, I want to say I should put my Frostblink in here, but I don't have the link set up for it. Either that, or I can put my Withering Step here. Point is, while we're mapping, I want to make sure I'm pressing basically Blood Rage. This allows us to get Frenzy Charges, extra attack speed, extra juice there, as well as Withering Step. Using that on bosses is a big important thing to do. Wither can almost collectively double our DPS. If we get to 15 Wither stacks, it's like enemies take 100% increased chaos damage. It's something crazy like that. Point is, eventually I'd like to get a better Venom Gyre enchant for 20% chance to inflict Wither on hit. Start to get this number up and up and up. As we get more attack speed into the build, we can start to actually get some reliable, consistent Withering on a boss. We might end up needing a Glorious Vanity. I'm not sure. I'm still working through the details, still trying stuff out. But Wither is really important for damage as well. That's a lot of stuff I've been working with, while a lot of stuff I'm changing. Right now, our mana is... It's decent. If we're attacking and we're hitting enemies, this 1% leech I think mostly covers it. Right now, if, for example, I didn't have Life Tap on and I were to shield charge a bunch, eventually you'd see we would drain our mana down, because we would be running out of mana, and then that would brick us when we go to cast if we miss the enemy. Stuff like that. Things like Life Tap make that a lot more smoother, a lot better, basically better. And then also I have Plague Bearer linked to rarity, support, and increased AoE. I'm not sure this is a smart use of these support gems or use of gem links, but I think it's kind of nice to have our Plague Bearer have a bigger AoE, and then if the Plague Bearer kills something, that's some extra juice and rarity. Maybe we get some better drops, stuff like that. Okay, hopefully I've covered a lot of the gear changes we've done. For the passive tree, right now for the time being, I opted to do this pathing to get basically the suppress here. This means between the suppress here, the suppress on this wheel, and the suppress here, if we have the suppress 12% mastery here, we get 98% just from our tree. Well, actually 93 I think, and I have 5% on my gear from this one shield. Ultimately, Eventually, I want to change this tree around, so I'm only getting about 75% from my tree, not spending so much extra passives going to try to get force and suppress here, and I won't need to force and suppress here, and just get something like Itziri's Step on our boot slot, so that way we get about 25 suppress there, and we'll cap it that way, and that would be a very good boot slot for us. But as of right now, being basically suppress capped on day one feels pretty good. I think I've covered most of that stuff. Eventually, I'd like to get Careful Conservationist, get to the point where basically we're sustaining all these flasks at 100% uptime. I just got 20 quality on my flasks, finally got the baubles to do that, basically getting normal flasks. That means it only requires 4 baubles to quality of them, and then rolling them with some alterations till I get some mods I like. I like all res, I like attack speed, I like evasion, movement speed was solid as well. This is solid. I think our character is a bit low on percent damage, so if you get a sulfur flask instead of a gold flask, you'll do a bit better on DPS. That's something if you want to go for, you can. And yeah, that's what the character looks like right now. I'll give you a showcase of currently what is the highest map on my tab. I have done a I've done a T12 because I corrupted 11 into a T12. Didn't get any maps out of it, unfortunately. But I have a T10 here to showcase you, to give you an idea of what the DPS looks like on this character. I will say, from my experience with this build, I really like Plague Bearer in combination with Vaal VG. It feels very good to press Plague Bearer, run through packs, then press Vaal VG, run through packs, then press Plague Bearer again, and you can kind of chain it. That works pretty well for map clear. Clear is fantastic. What isn't fantastic for this character so far, I would say the damage has been disappointing. I expected it to get a lot better in terms of what I would think would be single target, basically shotgun feeling damage from the whirling blades over bosses. I'm not very convinced I'm getting that. It doesn't really seem like we're that effectively shotgunning from what I can tell. It seems relatively more on the what I would call mediocre. I'm gonna keep showcasing the map here. I'm not gonna bother with the league mechanic right now. I'm gonna have to learn the league mechanic. I've skipped the league mechanic up to this point, but it does look cool and I wanted to get into it at some point, and when I do, hopefully it'll be not too hard to pick up and learn. I was just gonna do the classic and just wait for Grimro to tell me how to play it, and then once he tells me how to play it, then I know what to do. So as you can see, like, map clear wise, it does do pretty good. Map clear wise is not the issue. The issue is when we go to do like stuff like single target. Can I click this hand, please? I got it eventually. Okay. Okay, so we missed some rares over there. I really like Breach, by the way. The Breach nodes are really cool, and I like that they changed the aesthetics on Breach as well. Okay, so this is what the single target looks like on a T10 boss with a 4-link Covenant. 4-link Covenant is basically like a 6-link, or maybe a little bit better than a 6-link. I'm not exactly sure. Haven't really done the numbers, but point is, Covenant is very strong, and eventually when we get this chest piece 6-linked, it should be fairly solid DPS-wise. I would like it to be better at this point on a T10 map, but as of right now, you can make your own judgments calls for what it is. Ultimately, I was thinking this would be better at this point. If I'm being honest, I thought it would be better at this point. I think it's going to be viable enough, but I'm not sure at this point it's a build that I'm really super pumped about recommending. I think woo, it's pretty fun clear. It's hella cool clear. It's got really cool aesthetics type of thing, and feels good play. But the single target seems lacking to me, and I'm a bit bummed about that. I really am. I'm gonna keep pushing it, of course. I'm gonna keep changing things, and then keep you guys updated on where we can take it, what we managed to do with it. Ultimately, I'd like to clear all the content, but I don't know, man. I don't know. The damage has not felt like it's really there. I have a hard time seeing us be able to take Ubers on with my current results in damage. We'll see what I can do to change stuff and, you know, tweak and whatnot. Maybe I can get it to the point where it's starts feeling more uber viable, but right now this is what we're working with. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, just basically getting a look at it, me explaining the gear. I've been ranting. I'm super tired. I need to go to bed. Thank you for watching. As always, take care, Exiles. Peace out.